they don't have it to do, right? So what happens is usually someone calls them, like maybe a disgruntled employee or maybe even a competitor, but someone usually calls on you, right? And then they come search you. And the challenge is, like, for example, let's suppose you have someone as we'll say your secretary, right? And your secretary gets a 30-minute lunch break. But every day your secretary says, I'll just take my lunch break here at my desk. And you say, no worries, no problem. Just make sure you don't do any work. Well, let's suppose the year passes and your secretary thinks you're going to get a raise if you don't give her a raise. She gets mad. She goes to the Department of Labor and says, hey, I've had to work during my lunch break the last, year. And so what they're going to do, 9 times out of 10, the Department of Labor is going to believe you unless you can prove otherwise. And to make it worse, so you're going to have to pay all that back pay with fines. And on top of that, they're going to say, well, if this small business owner did this one thing wrong, what else are they doing wrong? So they're going to go through every little piece of thing you're doing, like I-9, onboarding, everything you're doing that you're supposed to do, they're going to comb through that, right? And that's like stuff you don't need. And also, there's a lot of potential to get fined out there, right? So on the slide right here, just some average slides. Now, $700 million from EEOC, I mean, that's a lot, but it's not a lot. But, it's broken down by categories, by state, by, like sexual harassment and whole different things, right? But one thing, you don't want to have a negative connotation in your business, right? Like employer brand is a big thing. So if you're trying to hire and someone does a search on you, and it says like you have like 3 lawsuits from EEOC, they're probably going to work for your company, right? Because all this stuff is public knowledge. Like once the EEOC, Department of Labor, files a lawsuit against you, that's public knowledge forever, right? And you don't want that. And so a lot of ways to get fined. But then again, it's not because they're not going after every little thing. And as long as you do the right thing and, cover yourself, that's what you need to do. If you have any questions while we're doing this, just click in the comments. Let me do one more thing real fast. That doesn't matter. All right, let's go to the next slide. Thanks everyone for joining. And so first one, first law we're going to follow is if you have one person, is the Drug-Free Workplace Act. And this is a lot of confusion about this, right? So the Drug-Free Workplace Act is not for every business, right? This is only for if you have a federal contract with the United States government, right? So if you're like a mom and pop store selling apples, or if you have a restaurant or anything private related, right? It does not apply to you. This is only for federal contractors. Like suppose you apply for a federal contract to, provide software development for the Department of Defense, or you have a software, or if you have a federal contract to do HR consulting services for Department of Interior. A lot of people get this confused that every company has to have a drug policy. This is not true. However, this does not count. Like, a lot of people, because of, the moral beliefs, the ethics or whatever the case may be, or the upbringing, or just what they believe, they do incorporate anti-drug policies, right? Now, having said that, this does not apply for insurance, right? So if you have transportation, not a drug company, that'd be messed up. If you have like transportation company, electrical company, and then, for insurance purposes, you need drug policies, right? So kind of a fine line there, but strictly for the Drug-Free Workplace Act, it only requires for federal contractors to have drug-free policies. But also you have to, even though if you have a federal contract drug-free policy or drug-free policy in general, you have to be careful, right, to make sure it doesn't discriminate against people who are recovering drug addicts, people who went through therapy or rehab. There's a fine line there too, so you have to make sure you keep care of that. I think the best example I'll give is for do you need a drug-free policy act in your company, or if it matters? Let's suppose you have a donut shop. I know this is a crazy example. You have a donut shop, and let's suppose your cashier who takes orders smokes dope every day. I mean, Does it really matter? Maybe it does, maybe not. Maybe it matters to you, but the big schemes of things, maybe not. It doesn't really affect the business.